Hello. We are here today with a lot of folks down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. I am Bryant Francis, contributing editor to Gamasutra, and I am joined today with other wonderful faces, Tanya, Alex, and Chris. Can everyone say hi?
Hi.
Hi.
Alex and Chris, can you quickly introduce yourselves for me?
Yeah, I'm Chris Graft, editor-in-chief of Gamasutra.com.
And I'm Alex Waro, another editor at Gamasutra.com.
And Tanya, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Of course, I am the captain of Kit Fox Games, a small studio up here in Montreal, Canada.
Right on. And we're here today to talk about a lot of things. We're here to do, like I've been saying in all the things promoting the stream, we're here to do some live game dev, some live quest development. But we're also here because Tanya, you're giving a talk at GEC in next month, right? Or you're giving like
Three talks.
3 talks, yeah.
Talks.
Can you introduce them for us?
Sure. So my main talk is an hour long. It's in the advocacy track about the mentorship program of Pixels, which is the nonprofit that I help co-direct in my off time.
Mm-hmm.
And my other 2 talks, I have a micro talk in the AI Summit about procedural generation, which I believe is going to be about tools for designers and unique considerations for procedural generation, and a 5-minute indie soapbox talk at the very end of the Indie Game Summit.
Right on. For those, I've linked to one of Tanya's talks down below. You can see it. That's the one for Pixels. But we are here to, as much as we're going to save all the good stuff that's in those talks for those of you attending GDC. Today, we've got something different going on. Tanya, you're working on a game called The Shrouded Isle, right?
Correct.
And just a second ago, you told us you're only writing and producing it for it. You're not creative directing like you did on Moonhunters.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm actually almost acting more like a publisher because one of my team members jammed on this really cool game on the weekends called Sacrifice, and I really liked it, and there was a lot of good response to it, and so it's being developed into a full Steam game coming out in June. And the Shrouded Isle is about managing a cult village and choosing who to sacrifice every season, and hopefully not waking the old gods.
How much is this is autobiographical?
Pure lived experience.
Gotcha. So what we're doing here today, for those of you watching at home, is we are going to try something really different here. We are going to try and make some sample quests for a game like The Shrouded Isle using game developer software called Twine. This is the first time we're trying this, so please bear with us as we stumble through the unique technical challenges that come with trying to make a game from this would be 4 different Skype locations, 2 countries, 3 states. That's like 2 states and a province, I guess. But what we're going to do here is Tanya is going to send me cells of stuff that we're going to put into Twine, and I'm going to plug it in for her so you can see live how she's writing code. On the left here we have the Twine window where I'll be plugging things in. On the right, Tanya is going to be dropping in both the basic code that Twine uses and the pros for this. So I'm just she is the Jaeger pilot and I am the Jaeger for today's session.
So, who is she going to drift with in this?
Yeah.
All right. Who? I guess technically, I don't know. Maybe we're both drift compatible. I don't know. This metaphor's gone right into the sea, if you will. Quick shout out into the chat for Pat and Pitt and Patrick for co-hosting this stream, and viewers. Just as a reminder, if you have any game developer questions, feel free to ask them in the chat, and we'll have Tanya answer them. Right now, Tanya, can you sort of walk us through how you're starting off this quest?
Right. So as a small warning, I actually tend to not like quests.
Yeah. Oh.
It's okay. As a player or as a designer, I come from an explorer kind of mindset. So I'm using the term quest very, very liberally to mean a choice that the player makes and gets feedback for, or a task the player performs and receives consequences. So, I mean, you don't tend to necessarily, I don't know, the interactions that you have with Twine aren't the same as World of Warcraft, for example. So if anybody is confused about why I'm calling it a quest, I mean, I think it fits within Twine if it's like a, an interaction you have. Does that make sense? A narrative design
Yeah.
choice? Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. And real quick, so what we'll do is I've got the Twine notes here, and then when just let me know, Tanya, when you want me to try and build the quest we made. I'll build it out and we can playtest it for the crowd.
Right, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be inspired by the world of the Shrouded Isle. I've been thinking about that world a lot lately. I'm not going to give too many spoilers or anything, but okay, so we're a village by the sea. We have to sacrifice somebody every season. And so the first quest challenge that you suggested was a quest that teaches a mechanic.
Yeah.
So the sacrifice is kind of the core mechanic. So I thought, all right, let's set the scene with the village and the cathedral, and then we'll do a little bit of exposition. For those who aren't writers, exposition is just when you're telling the player something explicitly. And right now we've hooked up the sacrifice to be a pure descriptive moment. But I think for this to be an interesting narrative choice and for an interesting quote-unquote quest, I think we actually do need to make a choice there. So maybe it would be a good time for the player to have an introspective moment and think about what's more important to them. So we can actually turn the two bits at the end of the second sentence, one the village can live without, or one that will satisfy the gods. So let's go ahead and make a new node for sinful, and a new node for virtuous.
Right on. For those in the audience who are just joining us, can you, Tanya, quickly explain how this node system works? Because I know how this little code writing thing works, but I'm sure our audience doesn't.
Oh, absolutely. So basically we're going to make links to new pieces of text, and you can only see a certain piece of text if you've made the appropriate choice to quote-unquote go there. So for example, in this very first node start, you can see the sacrifice is highlighted. So by clicking on the sacrifice, you are choosing to either look more at it or to do that thing, depending on the context. I mean, as far as the node editor is concerned, it's just moving to the next piece of text, but as game designers, the player experience will be very different depending on what kind of text they're clicking on. Obviously, if they click on kill child, they will feel a little bit different than if they click on look at child or just child. So that, now that I've actually said that out loud, it's pretty obvious looking at this that this doesn't feel like a choice right now. This feels like you might be looking at more information for living without or sinful, living without satisfying the gods. So I think this should either look more like a choice, or we can offer the player to be able to go back. So if we put return to village as a choice and go back to start, that's probably fine, because then people understand that it's optional what they're about to get into. I don't.
Oh, go ahead.
Because I don't. Yeah. Okay. So when the village can live without sinful. So ideally, this would create a slightly surprising interaction for the player. Every season, one must be chosen, one the village can live without, and they clicked on that, which means they're interested in it. So if they're interested in who can the village live without? Someone sinful, someone of little use to the gods. Okay, and then we'll go back. What's a good way to go back? Is the girl something? So we need to somehow link back to where we were before.
Right.
Thematically. I don't know if anyone in the chat has any thoughts. Should we sacrifice the girl? How about that?
Sure thing.
It goes back to the start.
In the chat, quick shout out. I can see Ender Slayer 98 has joined us. Hi, Ender Slayer, and then Reality O says, "Nice to see Tanya on here."
Woohoo! Thanks, Reality O.
All right, I am going to drop Sinful in here for you.
And let's ramble a little bit on what is virtuous. Someone whose blood would be valuable on the altar. Someone with achievements. Someone admired. Should we sacrifice the girl? Let's go back again. So now we're back at the start. Now, the way it's currently written, it could go either way, that this is a required exploration or not. I think because it's a core mechanic, we do want to make this a required little exploration. We don't necessarily want to make them click on both sinful and virtuous. But I think what we want to do is, in fact, make sure that they go through this sacrifice thread once. So probably what we want is the little girl to be playing in the street. You go look at the sacrifice, and then when you come back from that, she's doing something else. Maybe something more sinister would be kind of fun. So we're going to do an if-then statement. So if visited... Oh, I think actually... You can't really do ifs in the first node, can you? Because you just set the variable.
We'd have to in Twine. What we would do is we would send the start node to another node and then rebuild everything there, and treat that like start.
Okay, let's make a new start 2.
Yeah, give me a second here. I gotta.
Yeah. Start 2. And then we don't want to return to village, actually. Yeah.
This would be a dumb question. Have either of you ever used Twine before, or are we just sort of... This
Yes.
is all totally... Yeah?
I have.
Yeah. I actually had a little grant to make an interactive fiction in Twine a couple of years ago. Let me see if I can find a link to it, and I'll put it in the chat, actually.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Geez, what was it called? It was called Operating System. This is right.
All right, I'm just cleaning up our file here. 1 second.
Here it is.
Okay. So start 2 is now our home node. It's the equivalent of what we were using start for before.
I'm not logged into Twitch. Can someone else post it if I put it in the Skype chat?
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Cool.
Alex.
Chris and I are just watching with rapt fascination.
We are.
Really quick, Tanya. Reality O says it's Jonathan, and that they playtested Shrouded Isle yesterday.
Oh, cool. Excellent. That means they're here in the space, I think, and gameplay space. Oh, maybe they're at home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So you're in the same place where we streamed with Jason De La Rocca on Wednesday. You're the same place he
Yes.
was, right?
Yes, I'm in the Kit Fox area. So these are all Kit Foxes behind me. But other than that, it's the same big room.
How many Kit Foxes are there?
There are currently 6.5.
Real quick, Tanya, just a quick question. So, are you rewriting Start 2?
Yes. So
Okay.
I'm just adding a new. Let's make a girl. Yeah. So now there's a new interaction when you come back. When you get through the sacrifice, hopefully this has taught you a little bit about the core mechanic, I think. I think whenever you are trying to teach the player about the core mechanic, it should be based on experimentation, ideally, and it should reward curiosity, and you can't skip through it. Even though it might be annoying for people replaying the game, I think it's, unless you can somehow detect that they've already played through it, it's New Game Plus or something like that, it's just too much of a headache to let them opt out of learning the core mechanic. So the next challenge you had was nudging the player into picking a resource they currently have a shortage of. So we have this girl. Actually, maybe we should make a placeholder choice for now and test what we have so far, so that people can understand what they're looking at.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
Do it.
So if you want to remove the link, or a small girl can just be broken as a link, that's kind of fine.
That will get rid of sacrifice. Do you have sacrifice still in this start too?
No, Start 2 should not have sacrifice in it.
Even though that's a new start, that'll break all our links so far.
I misunderstood what you were doing. I see. Okay. Okay, well, what I was trying to do was make a Start 3. So after you've looked at either virtuous or sacrifice, it goes to a version of the start that is different.
Oh.
This is Start 2. Up here under
Yeah.
text.
And these
Sorry about that.
No problem. Okay. This is what game dev is, isn't it?
So it's a one-way river.
Yeah. I'm fixing that so it doesn't flow back to the start.
Yeah, I just had a conversation with a game producer this week where, like, one of the things talked about was one of the least appreciated aspects of game development is the ability to communicate clearly and, like, empathetically or compassionately. So when you can, like, fully tell somebody what they're doing, what they're not doing, what they need to do better, and make them feel like there was no negatives involved, like it's always about working towards the betterment of the project.
Would you rate that interaction as successfully doing that, Alex and Chris?
Well, I mean, it's up to you because you got the feedback, right? So do you feel like you are constructively moving forward on producing this game?
I think so. We are constructively moving forward on moving the Jaeger. Tanya, we lost your audio. There we go, and you're back.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, one step at a time, one note at a time.
Yep. All right, I'm dropping Start 3 into Start 3. Okay. All right, Start 3 is built. I'm gonna
Yeah, just go ahead and copy that in, and we'll fill it in when we get back from the playtest.
got it. It's all
It's supposed to be something where the girl, you kind of get another glimpse of the sacrifice, make you reevaluate.
Sorry, say that again?
I'm just catching up on because I'm watching the live stream myself. So this next start, you're supposed to see the girl again, and reevaluate her her character.
Yeah, so basically now that you know something about the sacrifice, now you get to make a choice with her, for example.
Okay, so here's what's going to happen. Hopefully this doesn't break anything. I'm going to go up in Twine. I'm going to go up here to where it says build and test play, and it'll open this in a browser. So let's see what breaks. Yep, that's what I figured it would want to.
Oh, it doesn't like any broken links?
Oh, no. Broken links are fine. I just figured it would want to do something like this. And let me full screen. Let me pull this out and full screen it. Okay, so this is probably going to look really tiny for all of you at home, but we do have. I've got it open over here, so I'm going to. I know you can't see it right now, Tanya, but I'll walk through it.
Yep.
Really quick, so we know just so we know something's up. When I copy pasted Tanya's code over, the visited girl variable equals no. It says that's a bad expression, so we'll need to QA that later. But my link to get started does work, so let's test a quest. Right now,
I see the bad expression. I'll look that up while you're doing that.
No problem. So the village is silent. All at the cathedral are in prayer. The sacrifice is approaching at the end of the month. A small girl is playing in the street. Girl choice. We obviously didn't write choice, but we did write sacrifice. Sacrifice. Every season, one must be chosen. One the village can live without. One that will satisfy the gods. So now my choices are return to village, live without, or satisfy the gods. Chris and Alex, live without or satisfy the gods?
I gotta say, live without, right?
I gotta say, sacrifice.
Oh.
Well,
I mean,
I can tell she just needs to be sacrificed.
All right, so
you're
we're gonna.
saying the little girl should be sacrificed? I don't think that's an option here.
Can you make it one? So,
Nice.
so yeah. Now what?
Ne-
I just lost my player agency. So now what are you gonna do about it?
Well, since our test players here can't come to an agreement, we're gonna go with live without. Um, and this did take us to another cell. That seems to be working. Who can we, the village live without? Someone sinful, someone of little use to the gods. Should we sacrifice the girl? And that takes us to all the broken links.
Excellent.
So now we can see all this is broken. So that means our quest so far, with the exception of the one variable, is working. Yay, QA worked. All right, I'm going to close out this test build real quick so we can get back to the screen. Quick shout out to MaxOMG, who just says hi.
Hi, Max. So the bad expression, I'm not sure why that's the case.
Oh, probably because you have quotation marks here. Yes?
It shouldn't be. I mean, if it's... Oh, I know why. It's because it's the type of equals. So if it's going to be a string, it needs to be EQ, not the equal sign.
Got it.
Equal, the sign is for integers only.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to change that to EQ and double check that it's fixed, it should...
I've changed it to EQ in start. So I'm gonna test that real quick just while we're here.
Good, yeah.
Something I think is really interesting about this very opening this intro.
It is working.
Tanya, you talked a lot about wanting to focus on exploration, and you are interested in like pursuing the idea of games as exploratory spaces. But this doesn't really. Right here in the beginning, we're not really exploring a village or a virtual space so much as we are exploring our own feelings and our own personalities.
Yeah.
Is that the goal here? Is the goal to be some kind of like self-reflective game where choice allows a player to express themselves, or are you hoping to accomplish something else with a quest like this?
Well, I would say that for a game that's about morality and secrets, it is more of an introspective exploration for sure. I think there isn't a huge difference for me between exploring a physical space versus exploring a system or exploring, well, I guess system is a good word for it, but like an alternate morality or an alternate worldview. And so we could add more exploratory options here if we wanted to. Like we could make it so that the cathedral was somewhere you could go and look and things like that. But I think both written word, so like books and things, and the Shrouded Isle in particular, they do work more for introspection. Like you tend to see a lot more internal dialogue and views into the protagonist.
Yeah. Which would you choose when you had to sacrifice somebody?
I think I'd rather choose someone we could live without if I could get away with it, for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's the right answer. Whatever Chris says, that's the correct answer.
All right.
It depends what you're trying to get out of games, I guess. Some people are more mischievous.
I've gone ahead and copied these your most recent text in. Chris, you're going to say something?
No, I was just confirming that I am the mischievous one.
So I'm trying to remember what exactly the wording was on the thing. Okay, nudges the player to picking a resource they currently have a shortage of. Okay, so that means we need to make some resources. So in the initial start, we should probably make. Let's reduce it to 2 resources: ignorance and suffering. How about that? Those are some good resources.
Ignorance and suffering. Got it.
So set ignorance equals 0, or equal, let's say 5, and set suffering to 3.
And you want these back in the start cell with the others?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to be, don't they?
So ignorance.
Chris and Alex, have you gotten to play around with any game dev programs before?
Oh boy, yeah. There was in one of those "What Would Molly Do" game jams, a friend and I, this was years ago, like sat down with something, I think just Construct 2, and built a platformer where both sides of the level, like it was a side-to-side platformer, but we had screen wrap, like so that you would would drop through that. It was a dumb game, but yeah, it's hard to work in this field without just picking up and dabbling with game dev tools now because they're so approachable and so affordable.
Yeah, Game Maker just messed around real little bit with that, but I must say that my proudest game dev moment was doing like I was on Train Jam, and I did the audio on a game from Adrian De Jong, who's working on Hidden Folks right now, and his Train Jam game had to do with a guy getting blown off into space and losing oxygen, and I provided the scream of the astronaut.
Very nice.
So yeah, I had to scream as loud as I could on an Amtrak train. Turned out pretty good though. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that, but I never thought until now. There's no sound in space. How did your scream? How does that work?
Yeah, just suspension of disbelief. He just made the universe so convincing that sound could travel through space. If George Lucas could do it, why couldn't Adrian De Jong? Yeah,
that's a good point.
All right.
Adrian is kind of like the George Lucas of video games.
Is that
Star Wars though?
Is that a? I was gonna say.
Is there a way to display the value of a variable directly, or do you have to do it through a set of if-thens? I wonder. Do you know, Brian?
If I'm understanding your question right, your question is there a way in Twine to just tell it to show the current variable's current value?
Yeah. Like this, like what I'm writing right now, the ignorance equals. I don't know, like, can it just display the number?
In theory, yeah, you would do it for testing stuff. I know what you're talking about is possible. I'm just trying to... It's been a couple months since I was working in Twine, so I'm trying to remember what the exact code would be. It would just be, like, display... Like, just string equals variable. So, we'll try it and see what happens.
Okay, well, we can try that. Or... I'm trying to make an if-then where you check your ignorance.
Yeah.
Which sounds like it should be more traumatic than it is. But, let's see. Ignorance. I wonder, do we have any Twine experts watching?
If you
know the syntax?
if you're a Twine expert in the crowd, feel free to drop your own code or suggestions in the chat. We do have it up on screen here. Let's see.
Now, for those who are wondering, I'm putting the back start 3 link in both threads of the if-else because of the way Twine adds weird spaces and line breaks whenever you code stuff in there.
Yeah.
It's just going to look better if we do it that way.
Yeah, and whenever you're working with these if-then statements, you have to make sure that end if makes it in.
Yeah.
Okay,
So one of those is going to be broken, and one of those is going to be okay. But we can't see both of them at the same time because ignorance is always going to equal 5 right now.
Yeah. So
GTE is greater than or equal to, by the way.
Yeah. So in theory, this should work. Do you want to test it?
Sure. Let's do it.
All right. This is what we get to do a lot of in Twine.
Tell me what happens.
All right. Testing a quest. The sacrifice we're going to live without, because Chris picks whoever we could live without. Should we sacrifice the girl? Yes. The ignorance link works. Ignorance. Bad condition. If. Bad condition. Ignorance GTE 5.
Oh, did you set ignorance equal 5 in the beginning?
I think I did. Let me exit out. Set ignorance equal 5. Yeah. That is working.
Interesting.
Serious.
Is it GTE in Twine or is it no? Oh, I don't think it's GTE. I think that's another.
Maybe it was in the old version. I was using back before Twine 2.0 or whatever.
Well, I'm in Twine 1.4.
Really? Then it should work. Oh, no, it's missing the $sign in front of ignorance.
Oh, that's it.
We were ignorant of the $sign in front of ignorance.
There we go.
Nice.
Cool. So we just found our first like bug, the kind of bug that happens when you're making these kind of games, didn't we?
Woohoo.
Okay, let's test
Hey.
this.
Tanya, can I ask you something while we're testing this?
No.
Okay, fair.
Yes, of course.
Do you ever talk to a duck? Do you ever find it useful to talk through any troubles you're having during game design? Because one of my favorite stories is programmers of all stripes will just like have a little duck they talk to, or have some kind of stuffed animal that they will talk through problems with. I hear that less often from game designers than I do from pure coders.
Well, game designers, I think we do like to talk through things, but personally, I always talk through them with a person. Sometimes I'll talk through them by writing stuff into a notepad file. Like if I'm trying to remember all of the different options that are available to me and think of like the benefits and drawbacks and things like that. But generally, most of my team is used to being a collaborative part of the game design process.
Right.
Like, can I run something by you? Is this completely terrible?
Real quick, now that oh, it worked. By the end
Yeah.
here, and the display very works, so we can see that ignorance is 5. So we can right
Ooh.
now we can build this quest out and check to see what the variable is until we decide to make this ready for ship. And then
Great.
it's back works. We're back here, so we'd be caught in an endless loop if I didn't close it out and get back into Twine.
Yep. So now we need to make a similar thing for suffering.
Rad.
Greater than or equal to 5, which is going to fail. So I'm not going to work too hard on the, good condition. Suffering greater than or equal to 5. The girl says, I hurt all the time. That's good, right?
Inflicting pain on children. That's what we do here on Gamasutra.
Yeah. I'm doing my part to corrupt the system. All right. So suffering is low. The girl kicks a pebble. I don't like confession. How about that? That sounds bad.
Sounds spooky.
Suffering is suffering. Oh, I messed up the earlier one. There we go. Okay. So I think the tricky thing here is that we're maybe actually being a little bit too oblique about the low resource. I think when you're trying to nudge the player into understanding that they should go for a low resource, we have multiple problems with this setting actually, which is that your resources are very abstract. And I've deliberately picked the most weird resources. So it's very common that people might be a little bit confused. So I'm just going to deliberately display the values in start 3. Because that'll give you an idea. The suffering is 3 and ignorance is 5.
Assuming we had more than an hour just to goof around with this, would you see any value in like visibly displaying these kind of resources to the player?
Oh,
or
yeah.
More useful? Oh, really? So you don't find it more interesting to have the player just have to sort of suss out their resources through the game rather than like.
It would depend on the core gameplay.
Yeah.
I mean, if the core gameplay is picking someone to sacrifice, then it's really important that at all times you understand what are the possible consequences of that. So you wouldn't want it to be like, oh, I killed someone and I don't know what's going to happen. And so when something happens, I just live with it. What you want to have happen is a player to weigh the options, have a very difficult decision to make. Even if they're not sure exactly what's going to happen, they have a good idea.
Yeah.
And then be very interested in what the consequences are. Whereas if the player is too distant from the choice they're making, I think it creates, more of a passive, just let it wash over you, kind of fugue state, which we had sometimes in Moon Hunters. But I think it would depend on the core gameplay. If I were actually making a Twine game that was actually about living in the city of the Shrouded Isle, then I probably wouldn't bother too much with having resources in the first place, because I think that core gameplay would be more about exploring your inner morality and things like that. But
Right.
I guess the short answer, for anybody tuning in, the short answer is if there are resources, they should be clearly communicated. That's what I think.
Sure.
Real quick, Tanya, looking at this in Twine, it looks like
Oh, it might not work in the link.
yeah, for some as a link, it's not.
Then let's move.
Oops. How mysterious. A shroud has come over my audio.
Oh dear. We've.
Oh, there we go. Sorry. Yeah. No, let's move the link over here. I've just made it probably more functional.
Someone in the chat is asking us to stop mansplaining to Tanya, and I'm assuming that's going to be me because I'm asking questions. So I'll quiet
No, I don't think anybody's mansplaining. You're asking questions. It's okay. I mean, thank you, whoever's defending me. But I don't feel mansplained right now.
down. We can certainly agree Tanya knows way more about this than any of us do, obviously.
I thought that was obvious so far.
I appreciate it. My degree is only in level design, not writing or narrative design, but I do have some years of experience, I suppose.
Yeah. Is this how? Question. So you were working on the Conan RPG years ago, right?
Age of Conan.
Age of Conan.
Yeah.
The MMO, yeah.
Yeah. And you were doing level design for that?
I started out as an AI designer, actually, so doing boss fights and dungeons and stuff.
Yeah.
But I did end up doing some quest design.
Right on. Is this process similar to all the what you did there on a big MMO?
Somewhat. You would definitely, I think, so the process that we would typically go through, it would be that we were given a reason why the quest needed to exist, whether the quest was there to entertain the player in an area, or to introduce a character, or to emphasize a mechanic. Yeah, that was normal.
Oop.
Mysterious. I guess.
We lost.
Sorry. There was discussions happening around me that I asked, wait another 20 minutes. But yeah, no, it's normal to start with what is the purpose of this quest, and then to think about, okay, what is the central choice I'm going to make here, if there is one, or what is the central moment in the narrative, and then to think about what the characters are that it's involved, which often is very, very limited due to resources.
Right on. So we've got this looks. And Twine is telling me that all this looks good. So do you want to play test Ignorance and Suffering real quick?
Sure. And while you're playtesting, I'll think of how we're going to increment either of these.
All right. So join me, my minions, as we test a quest. Let's see. The sacrifice is approaching at the end of the month. One that will satisfy the gods. Sacrifice the girl. Small girl is still X'd out. Ignorance and Suffering, the links both work, and the values are being displayed. So we tested Ignorance before with 5, so we're going to test Suffering with 3. The girl kicks a pebble. I don't like Confession. Suffering 3. So right now it looks like it's working. We'd have to start adding ways to change the variables in order to get the other if-then conditions to display. So with that, I'm going to X that out and hop back into Twine.
Right, so I think the core choice here is probably going to be who do we sacrifice?
Yeah.
So probably when we click on girl,
Yeah.
actually, yeah, okay. So when we click on girl, I guess we have to get an option of either sacrificing her or someone else. Who should the someone else be?
Chris, what's the identity of the other person we should sacrifice?
A village elder.
Okay, that's someone of less use to the village, maybe, but more. Who do you think is more respected or desired by Chernobog? I don't actually know. Probably depends on their virtues and stuff, right?
Maybe it's the variable. If I were thinking like a game designer, I would suggest the characters have ignorance, like they have these ignorance suffering values that are predetermined, and that would sort of gauge who was more valued / less valued. If I was thinking like a writer, I'd say the girl could be more valued because she's some kind of prophetic child, and the elder could be less valued because he is old and does nothing for the village and isn't actually wise.
Ageism.
Ageism. Sorry.
Well, ideally, I think one of them should increase each of the ignorance and suffering. It's just a question of like if either of them is more useful to Chernobog or what it is. Okay, so let's just go by the resources because that's the point of this quest.
Yeah.
So probably she doesn't like confession. Ignorance is high. It seems like sacrificing a small girl would increase the suffering. Like everyone would be pretty miserable, probably.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's probably the quote-unquote correct choice for this quest if we're trying to manage resources correctly. She is well loved, and all would be. I'm having trouble being writerly here. All right.
Everyone would be sad.
The funeral would be well attended. How about that?
That's good. I like that.
She says, "My grandfather is very sick. Perhaps he can be sacrificed." So then this is a.
What if he wanted to be sacrificed? Like he's so old and sick, and if it's her grandfather, you would figure he would want to step in her place. But then if he's sacrificed, the village grows more ignorant because they lose his wisdom.
That is a way better motivation than the one I came up with earlier.
Nice.
I don't know.
Okay, the question is where should we put that choice? So we have this thing where we've introduced these resources. You can look and see a little bit more information about them.
May I suggest using start? We revised start 3 to have the phrase like make a choice, like a very clear.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then small girl can point to like a descriptor of the girl.
Yeah, that's good. So the girl goes back to start 3.
I'll just drop this in. Break this out.
Oh wait. Yeah, I usually like to have one-word node names just in case because of typos and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Choose, I guess, can be our node. Choose.
Yeah. Just to share some insight on that thing, that's like a little like Twine is very easy to use software, but you still have, from a project management standpoint, these are some of like the little best practices. Oops, no, that didn't work. I broke something. These are the little best practices that like keep you from going insane while working on a project in Twine. Okay. Choose. Okay, choose is built, girl is built. I just need to know what to put in them.
Okay, so I think we're leaving the girl as a discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, in the actual game, the characters are randomly generated and you don't know all their personality traits to start with, so part of it is investigating and inquiring and figuring out who's a pyromaniac and whatever, but we'll save that for now.
Yeah, and Tanya actually wrote a really interesting blog on Gamasutra recently, right? About procedurally generating personalities.
Oh yeah, it was absolutely fascinating. No, I don't.
It
was some thoughts that I had about generating people for sure. I'll probably follow it up sometime after GDC.
Nice.
When I have time again to write that's not a GDC talk. Oh, we should probably pick what season it is. That'll help with the atmosphere. At the end of autumn. Autumn is poetic. That sounds good. How about autumn?
Absolutely.
Autumn's a lovely time of year.
I miss it. We don't really have autumn in California.
Yeah.
We kind of have it here in the Bay Area, but not down where I'm from.
We have a
No.
pretty
Good
good autumn in
season for
Montreal.
sacrificing. Yeah, good sacrificing season.
That's right.
Every season's a good sacrificing season.
Some better than others, but yeah, I can't disagree with that.
Tanya, if we were going really crazy today, would you then go back and decide to like make the season a variable and then set if-then conditions about the weather?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, what I would probably do is make a node called season or weather.
Yeah.
And then in that node, I would just display that node
Oh.
regularly. Like at the bottom of every node, I would be like display season.
Yeah. That's smart.
Set ignorance equal ignorance plus 3. Ignorance equals ignorance. Suffering equals oh, except that this is backwards. Oh well, that's okay. We'll fix that in a second.
I'm just gonna bring up your.
There we go. Okay, so in theory, so the problem with this quest design, I'm realizing, is that normally what you would want to do is you would investigate your lack of resources, you would make your choice, and then you would go to the same place to learn about the effects of your choice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in one of the circumstances, we killed the source of our information, so that definitely won't work in this circumstance. So we've made more work for ourselves. We've overscoped here.
But actually, real quick, this is kind of a fun time to stop and talk through the problem we created for ourselves. How would you, if you ran into this kind of problem while you were building a quest for a game, what's the first thing you would think about when thinking about trying to fix it?
I would probably start thinking about how can I convey what I did through the girl with something else, something more neutral that's not going to die at some point. So when you're like, ask girl about ignorance, I might change that to think about ignorance or think about suffering, and then instead of the girl saying something,
Right.
I might make more of an observation about the village. Even though that's a little bit less personal and a little bit less writerly, it would help keep the scope down in the future, because then I can always have a central place to go back to and remind the player what has changed.
Right. I'm going to copy and paste your quick edits in here into that cell. Now, for our purpose today, do you want to make those edits to the ignorance and suffering nodes, or do you want to go forward on choose girl and choose grandfather?
I don't know. I mean, I think we're getting towards the end of our segment, so I might as well let's iterate a little bit. That's what game design is, right?
Yeah.
Game design is iteration. So we're gonna say when ignorance is high, the ashes of burned pages from forbidden books choke the gutters. Hooray! And if ignorance is low, the book burnings have been ill attended lately. And if suffering is high, then cries of the confessors are loud in night time. And if suffering is low, See, the tricky thing is to make it seem like a bad thing that suffering is low. You haven't seen any How do you with wheels? Some weeks. Alas. There we go. Okay.
Nice. I admire the improvisation there.
So then we can think about each of them again. It's easy to copy and paste the think about into both of these. The
Right.
choose girl and the choose grandfather.
Yeah.
And then we can easily see that something has changed.
I'm going to copy paste this in, and then I guess we should test them.
Definitely.
Yep.
Before we go test, I just want to look at. I know. Sorry to my Skype friends here. You're seeing a delay, but for our audience at home, I just want to scroll through the nodes real quick and kind of see the shape this quest has gone. And we've managed to start ignorance and suffering start to be two nodes that we refer to across start, choose girl, choose grandfather, and stuff. I thought that was interesting, like reflecting on our process real quick right there.
Definitely. I've also put a link to Shrouded Isle on Steam. If somebody could put that in the chat, that'd be cool. Very kind of you.
Alex, could you do that for me?
Yep.
All right, so let's build and test play and see what happens. All right, let's test a quest. The sacrifice is approaching the end of the month. So we will satisfy the gods.
Nice.
Should we sacrifice the girl? The village is silence. All of the cathedral are in prayer. The small girl is playing quietly. Let's test the small girl, which should be just a descriptive text. The girl... Yep, this descriptive text seems to be working. You consider sacrificing the girl. Grandfather's very sick, etc., etc. We can think about ignorance. And we are told that the ashes of burned pages choke the gutters. Ignorance is 5.
That's good.
We can think about suffering. You haven't seen any wheels in some reeks. I don't know what a wheel is. But the suffering is 3, and I think that's what it's supposed to read.
Yes, that's low suffering.
Got it.
Yeah.
And now it's time to choose a sacrifice. And
See, in my iteration, I would probably replace the word wheels with something more, I don't know, easily understood. It's like a very specialized word for like the scarring of an injury.
gotcha. Chris, who should we sacrifice? The girl or the grandfather?
Dun dun
I mean,
dun.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of sacrificing the girl, like since the beginning.
Chris, you're a father.
This is just a game.
All right, choose girl. Choose
Choose your
girl.
5 kids, and you're okay with letting one go?
All right, so we do have one bug. We have a bug that I accidentally made. Choose girl. The girl is brought to the altar as the last red leaves fall from the trees. Everyone bows their head, and we can see Tanya's little nodes to think of ignorance and suffering, which appear to be working. Though there's 2 bugs I'd like to point out that one of these is my fault. One of these is just the process of games. One, I copy and pasted some of the text in from the sheet that we were meant to be using, and you might say, "Oh, that's totally easy to fix." But when I was working as a localization translator, that was the kind of thing you did have to keep an eye out for, because sometimes a little cell like that could slip into the main text. And then I go back to ignorance. And when I hit back, it takes us back to the sacrifice thing. So we need to find a way to get those nodes to point us back to wherever we just were.
Oh yeah, we don't have. Oh right.
Because then it just takes you back to the sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So-
of course.
Well, that's just because we've discovered new territory.
Right.
All right. So, but everything's working so far. Our code is good. I'll just edit these 2 things real quick.
There's also the initial girl choice in Start 2 that shouldn't be there.
Oh, start 2. This
Or
should
maybe
not.
it's in Start 1. I don't know. There's something.
Oh yeah, you're right. I found it. I got rid of it.
Okay, good.
All right.
So now the easiest way, instead of, you know how you have visited girl? We don't need that. Let's change that to be sacrifice. Or sacrificed. so that it doesn't look like the name of a node.
I'm going to copy and paste that in.
Yeah. So then in ignorance and suffering, we can change this. If sacrificed equals no, then go back to start 3. Else, we'll make a new one and fin. You can nest these in Twine, right? I'm pretty sure you can.
Yeah, to a point. There's a point where either you have to go really crazy or it starts to break.
Okay, well, let's try that. In ignorance, we have ignorance and suffering have now been. Oh, we need to make a new end node though. End. Fin. You won? Question mark.
Oh, hold on. Sorry, I'm just reviewing your code real quick. If sacrificed. Oh, you know what? In Twine 1.4, this code might actually be dangerous. In a better software, you'd be able to nest if conditions, but I think Twine is not good about that. So we should, I would suggest that we run the if then loop for the ignorance and then run an if then loop for sacrifice. Just run 2 loops.
Yeah, that sounds fine. So we can do that. Let's oops.
Lost your audio there, Tanya.
Weird.
And
I must
back.
have some sort of hotkey I don't know about. Boop. Boop. Okay.
Yeah, that scans.
Okay. And then we need to make the end node.
Whoops, that's not the right node. Ignorance. Oh, that's... yeah.
It seems like we have a good number of people watching the stream today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're pushing 100.
Woo!
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody.
We appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you to the, I believe it's the Twitch game dev community.
Very cool.
Let's see that. Okay, I copied those in, and I did make end.
Yeah.
Have we figured out what's... Oh, and Finn, you won? That's what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll put whatever there.
You killed a girl.
Thanks, Twitch.
Okay.
Theoretically, we would display something different depending on your resources or who you chose or whatever.
Yeah.
But we don't have time for that, so.
We're just trying to make sure the code works.
Yeah.
All right, let's test it. Let's sacrifice
Perfect.
a girl.
Or a grandfather. Come on, stay open-minded here.
Or a grandfather, right?
It made the girl a little more sinister. Maybe when you saw her, she could have been picking legs off a spider or something.
I think little girls singing quietly to themselves is creepy enough, but
Each their own. Real quick, I just want to... We broke this right off the bat because the sacrifice node variable isn't working. So I'm going to close this out.
oh no.
That should be working. Why is that? Why did it say that was bad? Dollar signs here. EQ.
Set sacrificed. EQ no. We don't need XP anymore. I don't know.
Shit. All right, let's try building it again. That looks correct to me. Nope. Sacrificed.
It's pretty weird.
Yeah. Well, we found a bug, but we don't know what it is.
Oh, good.
Huh.
Let's see.
What if we change the yes/no stuff? What I would like something I've
Change it to 0 and 1.
Yeah, that's what I was about to suggest.
Those were definitely working for us. Okay, sure. If sacrifice equals 0. Well, that's actually more forward thinking anyway, because we can increment it every time we sacrifice someone in the future.
But that means we have to change our if variables down here, don't we?
Done.
You did it. You made edits in ignorance and suffering.
Yep.
All right. This is where our change logs become very effective.
Yeah, start fiddling with things, and then more things break. It's great.
Yeah.
I feel like half the skill of game development is just figuring out when to give up and hack around something and when to keep trying to fix it properly.
It's also about, what were you saying? Iteration? I was talking to somebody recently in an interview that's going on the website next week, and he said, after working in game development for like 20 plus years, if someone gave him a year and said you could have 9 months of development and 3 months of iteration, or vice versa, he would happily take 3 months of development and 9 months of iteration.
Oh, absolutely. You'll
Yeah.
get a way better game for sure.
Yeah.
It's just a shame when sometimes for certain markets or budgets or things like that, like you just have to have a certain scope or else people won't pay $10.
Absolutely.
And then like, what do? You just have to make the best game the first couple times because you're not going to get 9 more months of iteration.
Okay. We're gonna make this test. So first, we're gonna check ignorance and suffering. Hooray!
Yeah, compiled, so that's good.
Yeah. Ignorance is 5 and suffering is 3. That's correct. Let's choose a sacrifice. Sacrifice. The girl or the grandfather?
Let's have some variety. Come on, let's sacrifice the grandfather this
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
All right.
Fine.
To the flames, old man. Okay.
We're not ageist in the game industry, not at all.
I can see already that the ignorance value went up, so I'll think about ignorance. Well, we just made the whole town more ignorant, so that was already pretty high, so that's good.
Hooray!
Oh my god, we created a loop where we can just keep sacrificing people and keep driving it up.
Oh, it's because we never set sacrifice to 1, of course. When we did the sacrifice.
Oh, yeah. Shoot.
Okay, so one last edit. To choose girl and choose grandfather.
To choose your own choose your grandfather.
Oh, wait. Yes, that's okay. It's fine.
Okay, one sec, let me...
It means you can only think about either ignorance or suffering at the end. You can't think about both, but that's okay. You're a busy cult leader. You don't have time to think about everything.
Okay, set sacrificed equals 1. Okay. Okay, saved it, let's build it. That was actually pretty funny there. I just kept sacrificing them.
There's always more girls and more grandfathers.
Alright, sacrifice approaching the end of the month. One that will satisfy the gods. Sacrifice a girl. Ignorance is 5, suffering's 3. Those are correct. Choosing a sacrifice. Into the pits, grandfather. Ignorance, yep. Ignorance is 8. Finn, you won? We did it! We got to the end.
Still kind of dirty inside.
Good.
Well
Pretty good
done.
time, too, yeah.
Yeah.
We're about
True.
5 minutes over, but yeah.
Yeah.
True Shrouded Isle experience.
Yeah. Well, that was cool. I could. What's funny is like we could totally keep going. Like we've given ourselves a lot of
Yes.
tools to keep going, and there's even little things we could do to sand the edges off this to make it like a quest worth clicking on, if you will.
I think so.
Yeah.
Cool, that was really fun, you guys. Thanks.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, this is the first broadcast that we've been on that went up over 100. I think it's the star power that we have.
Yeah.
Star power. Tanya.
I think watching people do game development is pretty fun. So, yeah, I'll come back anytime.
And I think performing game development in front of people is like way more challenging and tricky than it seems. So thank you so much for handling it with grace and skill under fire.
Well, maybe we'll get deeper into actual narrative design next time. But it was fun.
Awesome.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Well, we skipped to the. Sorry.
We have a procedure.
I have to say a bunch of things.
Fine.
Hold on.
I'm not allowed to hang up. I understand. Fine.
You know what's? I'll have an observation about this after we get off the call. But real quick, to our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to this wonderful game dev community on Twitch. We hope that if you enjoyed this, that you might click the subscribe button down below and subscribe to the Gamasutra Twitch channel. We're going to try more of these. I've got some other narrative designers on the hook, and I just want to bring them on, and we're just going to play around and twine a lot to see how different designers get their work done. You can check out Tanya Short's game. The game is called Shrouded Isle on Steam. Tanya will also be at GDC with 3 different talks, one of which, if you go to our channel page, you can see it's linked to down below. And then I have to throw the disclaimer up that Gamasutra and GDC are both they're both organizations under UBM, so it's the same company. Disclosure.
We're in cahoots.
What?
No, I just said we're in cahoots.
We're in cahoots.
Yeah.
And that's about it for today. I'm Brian Francis, contributing editor to Gamasutra. This is Chris and Alex, and thank you, Tanya Short of Kit Fox Games, for joining us.
Thanks, Gamasutra.
All right.
Thanks, Tanya. Bye.
Bye.